It is difficult.
Speech free.
Basically,
Independent.
what
Generational
they are discussing is what they are discussing is the fundamentals of Western society, individualism versus collectivism. And what they're saying is that actually individualism is the cornerstone of Western society and is necessary for critical thinking, because if you are a collectivist, the group thinking goes before the individual thinking. The way that Western society works, however, is that in Western society we believe that the individual is the subject that can suffer. Therefore, we need to bring back also the core entity to suffering, because society as a whole doesn't suffer. Individual, as members of the society, suffer. And the way that we look at, the way that we actually have conceptualized the world is through a God. And God actually is an individual, first and foremost. It's a single person, God. And we are in direct relation with God. And not with the collective, but with God. And God, he argues, is basically a reflection of ourselves, our potential. That what we strive to be, that what we can be. There is a fundamental force within our society that basically an obligation that we have towards society, but also towards ourselves, to fulfill that promise, to fulfill that potential. So in order to do that, you need to be able to freely think, freely express yourself, and freely exchange ideas to actually obtain that objective. So why does Jordan Peterson believe so much in his in individualism? Because that's, in his interpretation, the only way.
The mix with
Mazu.
No, not mazu. Sweet. Sweet.
It's the only way that we can actually fulfill our potential, our individual potential.
yes. So individually our potential. So because Western thinking, every person connect to their own God, or
Their own God. Basically, there is one God, and everybody
God.
has a one-on-one relationship with that God.
One is mean not on God, just one God, and each person is a.
Every person needs to answer to God, right?
Ah.
So every person has a one-on-one relation with God, that they owe basically, especially the more strict religious people like you have in the United States. They really believe that they have to answer to God before they have to answer to anybody else. But God actually, in his argumentation, doesn't really exist. God is merely a projection of your what you want to be, what you can be, how you can be, how you can be good. But that's different for every person, because people have different potential. Therefore, in order to maximize that potential, people need to be able to think freely. If you are answering to the collective, then the collective thinking will do the thinking before you. That's not how you reach your potential. So Western society believes that in order for us to reach our potential, we need to actually think independent.
Independent.
But based on our potential. In our relation to God, basically to our objectives. So potential and objectives need to come together through independent thought.
Okay.
So they completely reject, they basically really prioritize the individual over the collective, because the collective does not allow us to reach our full potential.
Interesting.
Because the collective thinking, basically, the group thinking supersedes the individual thinking.
Okay. Okay. So usually Westerners don't think collective thinking need.
Actually, collective thinking, it would be harmful for us
Harmful?
as individuals.
For only individual.
Yes, to obtain our full potential.
Yeah.
Because people are different. Not everybody is the same. And everybody has different potential. Everybody has different circumstances. We are not predetermined as people. We basically are the masters of our own destiny.
Okay. So how about army? Army is kind of a collective thinking way.
Right.
Don't you think so?
But that's a management. That's
right.
that's only management.
All right. Only management. So
Right.
each soldiers have independently,
Right.
right, from the other
Right.
people in army or forces.
And it would be individually opportune. It would be better to basically have the decision-making process of an army being delegated, because you need to operate in full synchronicity. But it doesn't mean that not every, because basically there is you're fighting another army, right? So you're collective against collective. But in life, people are basically individuals. They suffer individually. They reap the fruits of their lives individually, ultimately. So your question is the right question, but I believe that it also fits. The idea of an army also fits within that philosophy. But it's less obvious. Less obvious. So basically, in Western society, we believe in God. God is actually a reflection of ourselves, the potential that we have, and the obligation that we feel towards achieving that full potential in order to, be a good person.
Okay. So individuals thinking extract their own potential. So that's why with some
pursue
people,
your own potential.
Like pursuit. Okay.
In pursuit of your own potential. That's basically finding God. It's in pursuit of your own potential.
Well, for European people, what is the differences between individual and collectivism? But do they have collectivism?
No.
No?
No.
Like a collective.
Well, of course they have a collectivism, but so he's referring to the radical left.
Collectivism is based upon individualism, is it?
Collectivism, no. Basically, how they are describing collectivism is a concept where the collective takes priority over the individual.
Prioritize.
Takes priority over the individual. And that means that people who are member of the collective do not engage in individual thinking. They basically make themselves subject to collective thinking. That's why people who are collective thinkers are not capable of engaging in debate, basically, because they don't have an individual thought. They are not capable, because not everybody is the same, and people do not, within the collective system, basically it's much harder for them to achieve their potential, because it's very unlikely that their individual identity is completely in sync, and their possibilities are completely in sync with that of the collective. For some people it will mean that they have to sell themselves short, for others they will reach beyond what is available to them. But there is a kind of like this average that is what everybody adheres to, that everybody is buying into. And they're saying that's not how we see our society. That's not how we feel that we have a responsibility in our world. So the individual as the core, the essence of existence is very fundamental to in religion and as well as in society. It's very fundamental to Western world.